It's Wednesday and it's time for Pop and Politics. We are talking about the latest in hot topics, news, and entertainment. I'm KJ, and let me introduce you to my co hosts. We have Shelly E, Yana, T, and Colleen. So the old crew's back tonight, guys.
Hey.
Yes, indeed. All right. Join our conversation by leaving a comment on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter. We will check the comments periodically throughout the show. And don't just comment, subscribe. Subscribe to our social media so you always know when we post new content. Also, if you like independent media and you want to support what we do, donate. Any amount is appreciated. Check us out on our website at www.metroconservativemedia.com for up-to-date information. We are a necessary voice in news and entertainment. All right, ladies, it's good to be back. Good to see everyone back. How's everyone doing tonight?
Great.
Good. Okay. All right. Well, we'll get right into it. Let's set it off. So we are starting off tonight with Wes Moore. So talking about Wes Moore, again, you guys know he is running on the Democratic ticket for governor of Maryland. And so tonight we are going to dive into his platform and talk about his stance on issues, what he's saying and what he's not saying. And ultimately, I want you guys, not just the host, but the viewers, to answer, is Wes Moore good for Maryland? All right, so I want to get right into it, and I'll start with you, Shelly. I want to ask, what is, after you've viewed his website, you've seen the news stories, what is something that's kind of stuck out to you as far as his stance on the issues?
Okay, well, you asked the question, is he good for Baltimore? So let me say this first.
In Maryland.
He looks good for Baltimore, but looks can be very deceiving. When I went through his site, are you able to hear me? I'm sorry.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. When I went through his site, I came away with I wrote down some themes that I saw in the various platforms. Now, I will give him credit. His site is very easy to maneuver. His platforms are pretty clear there. But these are the themes, or these are some of the concepts that came out. Increase, implement, raise, leverage, support, expand, and restart. There was basically our pockets are going to be empty. That's number one. In his crime platform, I read through his crime platform. There was no mention of accountability for criminals. Everything sounded like Brandon Scott's violence prevention plan, where there was accountability for police and the community, but nothing holding the criminal responsible. So Marylanders, guess what? We better strap up. Really, legally strap up and get ready to defend ourselves, because these criminals are going to be on the loose even more than they are in Baltimore City. So for me, those are just some of the things that glared out to me as I was reading through his platform. Wes Moore is not good for Maryland.
All right. Well, I want to move on to you, Yana. You've had a chance. He's been in some news stories here in Maryland. He's also has his website up where he posted his stance on the issues. Again, talking about Wes Moore running for the Democratic candidacy for governor. Is Wes Moore good for Maryland?
Well, when I saw his site, it looks very socialist. I mean, everything looks really flowery, like we're going to achieve a utopia, really. When you go through it, he doesn't really talk about what the problems are. He just keeps saying what he promises. So some of the things that I noticed that was interesting was that it seems like he wants Maryland to be a sanctuary state for far left, because he says that he will recruit people or he'll promote recruitment from other states for people such as pro-abortion people, then LGBT, and all these far left ideas that he says there are. He calls them the far right states. He wants to recruit people to come to Maryland and to work here, to settle here. So it seems like he wants to change the demographic really of Maryland, so it would be more aligned with his ideals. So that's one of the things that that I noticed. So I mean, obviously, I don't think that's good for Maryland. He says he calls Maryland to be America in miniature. Well, what is he trying to create? That's not, if he wants to make Maryland completely far left, that's not America in miniature.
Okay. All right. I want to get your response, T. Wes Moore, again, running for governor on the Democratic ticket. Nice looking guy. We'll say that. He kind of gives you that Obama esque vibe here in Maryland. So I want to get your thoughts, T. What is Wes Moore good for Maryland?
I mean, well, you kind of took my points away from me
Oh,
because that's kind of what I say. I mean, yeah, on surface, yeah, he's good looking. He's married to a Black woman, which is always great. And he, he has all of the things on the list, which, would sound great on the surface. But yeah, when you dig a little deeper, he, his website, gender equality, LGBTQ, protect reproductive rights. As Yana said, he's trying to become a safe haven for the far left. And what I didn't see on there is pro family. What I didn't see is pro fathers or pro helping the families to, I mean, to me, that's the core. That's what we need to be getting to in order to make a productive state. We should be trying to get these families together. And that's these core problems and core issues. I don't see them trying to remedy that. I just see them spitting talking points. And that's not good for anyone.
Mm-hmm.
So no, he's not good for anyone, nor Baltimore City, even though he is fine.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And I want to get your thoughts, Colleen. I mean, you are the recent Democrat, you're the most recent person to change parties out of our whole crew. Again, you were Democrat for many years, and right before up to the pandemic, and you changed parties. So now we here have Wes Moore running for governor of Maryland. I know are no longer here in Maryland, but what are your thoughts? Do you believe Wes Moore is good for Maryland?
No, I don't. And I really worry that he's going to win, which is a reason why I left. Unfortunately, I'm scared for Maryland. I really do fear Maryland, the future of Maryland, because our two candidates are far right and far left. So we don't have a moderate. And that is really a little disappointing. I mean, of course, I support Dan Cox, but it's going to be hard with some of the endorsements that he's received, especially the Trump endorsement. But I will say that Wes Moore will absolutely destroy Maryland. I mean, if you have Biden show up to your events, that's all I need to see. That's all I need to see. If that is what you're putting up as like a standard, as what we've become in only 2 years under Biden, well, I mean, look at California. Doesn't Newsom love Biden? And look how they fared.
Mm-hmm.
The same thing will happen to Maryland.
Yeah, I think some of
it's all a show. His if you go to his website and some of the things, it's celebrity crazed. Like he's had celebrities donating to his campaign. He's taking pictures with celebrities. Like, I mean, what are they gonna do? They're not gonna.
I was just about to say, you brought up a good point, because we want to talk about what is on the front of mind to most Marylanders. And all the polling shows that Marylanders are very anxious and care about crime, education, and the economy. So those are the three things that kind of on the forefront of Marylanders. And I didn't see much of that on his website. I wanted to talk more about, he did have a lot about building a more restorative and rehabilitative criminal justice system. So that's what I saw a lot about: social justice, restorative justice, gender equality, things like that on the website. But nothing talking about our crime problem. Now you look at a city like Florida, a state like Florida, and you look at Miami. So Miami was one of the only cities in the country that lowered the crime rates in the city. So right now we have cities, including Baltimore, with rising crime rates. We have babies, elderly, women, kids being killed on the streets of Baltimore and across the country, New York, Philadelphia, Chicago. But we have Miami, which used to be murder capital of the country, has been able to lower its crime rates. And how did they do that? They did it by increasing the police force. They did it by increasing funding for police, increasing police presence, and that in turn helped with the crime. But I didn't see any of that in Wes Moore's platform. I didn't see anything about lowering taxes.
Yeah.
I didn't see anything about that.
Can I say,
it's scary.
The main thing that made me switch parties was my fear for public safety. If I am so scared to just leave my house because I don't feel like I was really feeling like back home that if something were to happen to me, if I were to become a victim of a violent crime, that they don't care. They don't care. They're not going to seek out my justice for me. They're not going to make sure that whoever were to commit any crime against me, and it's not just me, it's just about anybody. So if I was really worried about personal safety, watching the riots and the media gaslighting us. So if people like Wes Moore literally will not even touch public safety, don't vote for them. Oh my gosh, we have a real problem with public safety. Like, don't let these politicians gaslight us.
Yeah, you see buddy with Brandon Scott. You see him very buddy with these people.
His crime reform plan sounds like Marilyn Mosby, on paper.
That's what I was going to say. It kind of mimics exactly what
it really does.
In Baltimore.
So we already know the effect. We already know the effects, at least in part, of her policies in Baltimore City, not just here in Baltimore City, but across the country, particularly for the last 2 years, where they are these progressive prosecutors, and now we're talking about adding Wes Moore to Maryland's slate. Maryland will be up the yin yang with crime. In his plan, he talks about these decertification standards for police, as if police are the problem, right? As if the police are the ones out here committing the crimes where people cannot go to work or can't go to work safely, can't play on the playground. Children can't even go in and out of school without being shot. And he's talking about having the police more accountable, but nothing mentioning criminal accountability and more police to lock up these bad guys.
No, I think that what I saw is less police and less accountability for crime.
Exactly.
So it's easier for criminals to get out of jail. It's easier for them to then rehabilitate, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but it seems like there's nothing that really, it's all the positive things. They're trying to fix the crime by making it easier for the criminals to commit crimes and then just move on.
Yeah.
For education, the only thing I saw on education was, first of all, he's talking about getting more STEM, like STEM subjects and STEM, like science, technology, engineering, and math graduates created. He's not talking about the kids literally cannot read. So it's like he's not talking about the issues. He's talking about, we're going to have all these engineers coming out of Maryland. Well, how are you going to do that if they can't read? So that's
most of his education. Most of his education platform was really focused on HBCUs. So again, there's this very narrow focus to funnel the money from Kerwin for the public schools, and then this, I think it was $570 million for HBCUs. Didn't they just get some money from Hogan?
And to add to that, another thing on education is that he wants to diversify the teachers. So he's saying that we need to hire more Black and Latin teachers. I mean, what's the difference? We need good teachers. Right. We need to hire good educators. Kids cannot read, and he's talking about that we don't have enough, people of color as teachers.
And these are all promises, anyways. It doesn't sound like anything that's really, first of all, going to fix the issues, and secondly, that he can do.
Well, he's talking about getting these different diverse teachers and ethnicity and things like that. But the issue here are teachers don't want to come in some of these high crime areas because there's no discipline in the schools. Another thing he has on there is talking about his jobs. Now, he had on there about increasing the minimum wage to $15 an hour by 2023. And we've seen the studies that have come out about this. The Congressional Budget Office analyzed this on numerous fronts, and it's just not a good idea. Reports that it affects employment. Raising the minimum wage would increase the cost of employing low-wage workers. As a result, some employers would employ fewer workers than they would have under a lower minimum wage. So we've seen the results of this by the numbers, and it's just not a good thing. It would also increase the jobless rate.
And what it shows, and what it shows is discrimination. So basically, when he's saying we're going to recruit people who are far left, we're going to recruit people that look the way we want them to look, or think how, so it's discriminating. So he literally says on his platform that he.
Why would you say that? Why would you say it's discriminating? Can you like how
well, I mean, we saw recent investigation of Project Veritas into schools, and how schools specifically are not hiring people who have, even when somebody says, "Oh, I'm colorblind, I don't see race," they don't hire them, because you have to see race, you have to be pro equity. If he says that he needs to hire more people of color, so that means they want to discriminate against someone who is not a person of color, or someone who is right wing, because he specifically says on his platform that he wants to recruit people from other states who are left, who are far left.
Right. Yeah. To KJ, I wanted to respond to your comments about the minimum wage. Another point is that when businesses are forced, again, we talked about fascism a little bit a couple of weeks ago. Businesses are forced to pay what the government says, then that is not giving them a true value of their business, number one. Number two, most people who are earning minimum wage are either very low skilled or unskilled. And they typically don't stay in those jobs as their skills and education improved. So this idea of everybody can make a minimum wage, or whatever they call a living wage, is very much it's very deceptive. It sounds good, but it doesn't do good in the long run. Jason Riley, in his book that I'm finishing, it's called The Black Boom, and he's analyzing these particular policies, economic policies, particularly under Trump, and how they were better for the people, all people, particularly people of color, who were able to increase their wages under Trump. Most of these leftists, if not all of these leftist policies and leftist people in general, they don't care about the facts and what the data outcomes are. All they care about is implementing their agenda.
Yeah, along that same along those same lines, we wonder, how does this affect family income if we increase the minimum wage? And so basically, by boosting the income of low-wage workers who have jobs, a higher minimum wage would raise their family's real income, lifting some out of poverty. But the income would fall for some families because other workers would not be employed, and because business owners would have to absorb at least some of the higher costs. So basically, a minimum wage increase would cause a net reduction in average family income. So it's not a good idea on several fronts, but they keep pushing it because, just like you said, it sounds good. But when you look at the actual data and the numbers regarding this, it is detrimental to people, especially people of color. And this is how a lot of these policies, specifically on Wes Moore's website, on paper, when you talk about him, they sound really good, just like him. He's a good-looking guy. But when it comes down, when you put the rubber to the road, his policies are actually detrimental.
Have you guys looked at the LGBTQ section of his website?
I did.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
it's scary. No, honestly, it's what we've been talking about. He wants to turn Maryland into California. Mm-hmm. When you, sorry, I think
he has the Inclusive Schools Act. He talks about on there. He's also talking about providing medical government assistance to people who want to change their gender. So transgender surgery. He wants to do that, and I'm talking about
So
from womb
schools
to
are
tomb.
going to have LGBTQ affirming policies.
Yeah.
Then there's going to be people can get gender surgeries with the healthcare. So we're going to be paying for people's surgeries for kids, maybe doing gender surgeries.
Exactly.
And
Because he wants to make healthcare available again, another Obama type. I thought we had the Affordable Care Act, right? Everybody was supposed to have health insurance by now, and now we're talking about again making sure everyone has health insurance. Well, what happened in all these interim years?
Now, I wonder what he means by abolish Maryland's outdated laws that criminalize HIV. Is that going to be the same thing as in California, where if you knowingly have sex with somebody, if you have HIV, you're not going to be prosecuted for it? Is that what he wants to do?
Pretty much.
I wonder who are they trying to attract exactly?
That's what I'm saying. Thank you.
With these keywords and what they call it, catchphrases, who in the world would want these things in their state? But I mean, I guess I know who, but
I don't even feel like Black Democrats are going to buy the LGBT agenda in school. I feel like they're not reading his online platform.
No.
I feel like they're missing this part.
They
You know what I'm saying? So if they actually knew that, radical part of his agenda, which I don't think he's talking about it enough in public. Not a lot of people will go to their website. So I think a lot of people are missing that very radical aspect of Wes Moore that would actually lead them to vote for Dan Cox over Wes Moore, even if they are far left.
I don't know. Because again, as we've mentioned, these policies, when he talks about them on his platforms, when he goes to events, people like this stuff. It sounds good. It sounds comforting. So a lot people fall for this. They don't do the research behind the effects of these policies. And then they think that it's a good idea. That's why these platforms, like what we're talking about, really dissecting this information is very important.
Mm-hmm.
I want to go to some of the comments now because we have several here. So let's see here. I have Agnes. She says, I am in DC under Bowser. They are all the same and need to be stopped. Cox needs to go scorched earth on crime, murders, revolving court doors for violent offenders, pictures and numbers. Tax and spend is their other thing. Tax everything because they need to fund the free for alls and throw money at folks for things they should do themselves. Education, Baltimore being sued by parents. He can hammer and name it all.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
he needs to get away from the Trump endorsed. This is how he's. This is how he's going to be able to reach the Democrats and the independents, as well as the Republicans that we've lost support for.
Yeah,
because it's not all about Trump. This is Maryland.
It's not.
Right. It's nothing to do with Trump. It's nothing to do with Trump.
Mm-hmm.
People need to get that out of their minds. Trump is not on the ballot. Whether Dan Cox got endorsed by Trump or not, it does not matter. It's about the issues.
And it's annoying that Republicans in this state are so anti-Cox, because of Trump or whatever, because they didn't like Trump. And it's like, so you're gonna get this guy Wes Moore elected if you're gonna split the party. That is really, really frustrating.
Look, Yana, I've said this before. I think KJT, we've said it before. I'm a Republican. I'm on the Republican side. But I will be one of the first to admit that my party, by and large, generally are cowards and they act very dumb.
Childish.
They do a lot of dumb things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I wanted to go to this other comment. Ian says, I hate this terminology, a person of color. Every person on this earth has a color.
Cool.
Well, yeah. What are you guys' thoughts on that? That's a good
Well, I don't like that term either. It's like they just injected it's a new term, and it's just the reverse of colored people.
I think that's cute.
But it is. It's the same thing. Like that's what they were like. Let's create this. Let's switch the words, and it's not going to sound offensive anymore.
Who are the people of color anyway? Is that like all of the minorities?
Yes.
Yeah,
I think
I guess it would be
supposedly.
because they try to even think same thing. BIPOC, this black, indigenous.
I mean,
Person of color,
now
yeah.
you know that they call now Slavic people of color.
Right. Yeah. It's just always terms to kind of divide and characterize.
And this is the people who I guess I'm answering my own question here. These are the people who they're attracting because they are the ones who feel oppressed. They're attracting and marketing to the oppressed people that feel like, oh, woe is me, and this is
they
why
want to hold on to that feeling. That gives them a sense of identity.
Sense of being. Because I'm thinking this can't be good. Like reading his platform is not can't be good to anyone of some sense.
Well, I do encourage all of our viewers and listeners to check out his platform and really take an honest look and also not just take it on face value, but actually dig into the comments and the things that he says to see if actually this stuff really is something that can make sense. Because what we're going to end up with a Wes Moore as governor, there's no accountability in the state any longer. And we're going to end up with a big Baltimore. That's what we're going to end up with. Wes Moore is another Brandon Scott. He's like a Brandon Scott, and
he praises him openly.
And this is a message for Republicans specifically. Vote for Dan Cox if you don't want to lose your state.
Yeah.
We need Cox.
All right. Well, we will continue to follow this, and hopefully they'll have a debate. I think the first one isn't until October, if I'm right. But looking forward to that.
Do you think Wes Moore will go?
I think he has agreed to one.
Okay. Because I know Arizona, they were having the hardest time with Katie Hobbs trying to get her to debate Carrie Lake.
Yeah, he's agreed to it.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Fetterman. I mean, this is a pattern. So I just want to foreshadow this just in case he decides that he can't debate Dan Cox and somehow he wins at 3 a.m. I just want to foreshadow this, just in case. So.
All right. Well, join the conversation by leaving a comment on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter. We will check the comments periodically throughout the show. Also, subscribe to our social media so you always know when we post new content. Check us out on our website at www.metroconservativemedia.com for up-to-date information. We are a necessary voice in news and entertainment. All right, so we are moving right along to our pop-off round. So again, this is a time where I ask a co-host a random question or have them talk about a trending topic, and they provide their reaction in 30 seconds or less. So we're starting off with you tonight, Shelly. So this is clip 2. Can you play this and get your response?
Okay, I gave my best years to this city. 20 years, from 21 to 41, and then they take it away at the peak of my earning career. I made it to captain. I went through that process. You should be ashamed of yourselves. You should be ashamed of yourselves. Eric Adams is going to be on the wrong side of history. The people who look by are the same people who thought slavery was okay. The same people who thought segregation in Shea Stadium was okay.
Thank you very much,
You segregated us. I was allowed to work in this city, but I wasn't allowed to eat in a restaurant in this city.
Thank you very much.
I was allowed to work through the pandemic, but I wasn't allowed to eat in a restaurant.
Okay.
I could wear the uniform, go to a burning building, but not eat here.
Thank you.
What's wrong with you people? Trust the science. You guys are up.
All right. So that was a New York City firefighter talking about the effects of the mandates and the lockdowns in New York City. I want to get your response to his passionate comments. What do you think about that?
Well, first, I love it when citizens, everyday people, sort of bogart, if you want to call it that, in these city halls, city council meetings. First of all, they are the citizens' meetings. They're to be held for the citizens' purposes, not for their own acclamations or whatever for the council members. So I applaud that man for that. But he's absolutely right. And over the last 2 years, we collectively have seen our rights kind of being slowly taken away, or at least, punched at. We need to fight back. We need to push back. What do we have to lose except all of our damn rights?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to move right along to the next pop off. It's for you, Yana. This is clip 3. Take a look.
Would you call the border secure?
I think that there is no question that we have to do what the president and I asked Congress to do. Is the first request we made: pass a bill to create a pathway to citizenship. The border is secure, but we also have a broken immigration system, in particular over the last 4 years before we came in, and it needs to be fixed.
We're going to have 2 million people cross this border for the first time ever. You're confident this border is secure?
We have a secure border in that is a priority for any nation, including ours and our administration. But there are still a lot of problems that we are trying to fix, given the deterioration that happened over the last 4 years. We also have to put in place a law and a plan for a pathway for citizenship for the millions of people who are here and are prepared to do what is legally required to gain citizenship. We don't have that in place because people are playing politics in a state like this and in Congress. By the way, you want to talk about bipartisanship on an issue that at one time was a bipartisan issue, both in terms of Republican senators and even presidents.
What?
All right. So, Yana, do you agree with Vice President Kamala Harris that the border is
She
secure?
sounds and looks like some lady in a bar who's had a few drinks and she keeps bobbing her head. Like, I don't know what is going on with that. And she's talking nonsense. So she keeps deflecting. She says the border is secure. Okay, the more you bob your head, it's not going to make the border more secure. And I know that the border is not secure because I personally know somebody from Eastern Europe who flew to Mexico and walked across the border.
Wow.
And ended up, well, it was a friend of a friend who said that at one time she spoke, my dog just
He's like, what's going on here?
Yeah, so I'm just saying that I know exactly how not secure that border is. So she's lying. She doesn't want to answer the question, and she looks and sounds drunk every time she speaks.
All right. Moving right along to you, T. This is clip number 5. Take a look.
What whole thing?
Why don't the women want to cook and clean for the men anymore?
Because they're tired, bro. They have to go to work every day. That's not hard.
They're tired?
Yeah, they got to go to work every day, just like you.
What are they tired of?
Of working. It's not hard. I mean, that shouldn't even be like, I don't even understand the question. Like, they're tired. Aren't you tired when you get home from work?
They're working every day, so they're tired. That's why I don't want to cook or clean.
Yeah. You think I want to work 8 hours and then come home and then cook and clean? I mean, I do it because I have to. I have 5 children. But yeah, I mean.
Do you have a woman right now?
What's that?
Do you have a woman right now?
I've been married for over 20 years.
Okay. Does your wife work?
Yeah, absolutely.
What are the roles in a marriage?
What are you talking about, roles? Everybody does what they have to do.
Well, okay, what do you do? What does she do?
For a living?
No, in the house for the marriage. What do you guys do? What are your roles?
Role? I don't understand the question. She does she does what needs to be done that day if she has time to do it. And if she doesn't, I do it. And I do what needs to be done that day. And if I don't have time to do it, she does it. With roles, I don't know what you're talking about.
How do you not know what roles are in a marriage? You're married for 20 years. You guys don't have
Because those
any
don't
roles?
exist. Because those don't exist. Like, I'm not white. I'm not a white Christian man. I don't.
What are you talking
roles.
about? I'm not white. What does that have to do with anything?
Oh, because you're trying to live up to like some white supremacist ideal of the
what are you
nuclear
talking
family.
about?
I don't subscribe
Nobody
to
said
that.
nothing about no supremacy.
Teamwork makes the dream work, friend. We a team. Ain't no roles.
What do you mean there ain't no roles?
It's not that hard to understand. You said, why do women not want to cook and clean? They're tired. They have to go to work.
Okay.
I answered that question.
Okay.
You said, what are your roles? I said, we're a team.
If there's something that needs to be built in the house, who builds it? You or your wife?
Depends on what it is.
What do you mean depends on what it is?
Like if it's a toy for the kids, you know what I'm saying? My wife's better at putting stickers on, so she builds it. But if we're talking about
that's not building nothing, man.
Well, I mean, I'm sorry you feel that way.
Stickers on something, you've lost it.
It's still a task. But my wife's an interior designer, so she can build anything.
I ain't got time for no foolishness. He gone.
All right. So my question to you, T, on that clip is: are gender roles important in a marriage? Why or why not?
Of course, they're important. Roles are important because the main reason is because men and women are different. Innately, they have innate differences that men are stronger than women, and women, well, we used to be more emotional than men. I don't know what's going on now, but there are roles because I mean, I got what the caller was saying, but he lost me when he started talking about the white part and stuff that don't make sense because that didn't have anything to do with it. But I understand what he was saying. Like whatever, someone may be stronger at paying bills and someone may be stronger at cleaning or something. So you find out what works for you in your relationship, in your marriage. But then, you know, you have to understand that there are roles because men and women are different. And that's something that we all have to understand at the root of the issue. Men and women are different. We're not the same. And women can't do everything that a man can do. And I don't understand why they would want to. Because why would you want to be a man? Why would you want to carry the burdens that men who are equipped to do this have to carry if you have to? And then you just choose better. You choose better mates. You choose better husbands and wives to communicate and be mature about the decisions and whatever y'all do. I'm unmarried right now, so if there are any healthy masculine men that understand gender roles, T at Ballerina 80.
Oh my God. Okay. All right. And to you, Colleen, take a look at this clip and then I'll get your response.
So Amy Harris was fresh out of rehab. She moves in, finds this diary in a mattress. And there's all kinds of stuff in there. And we assume that it's Ashley Biden's diary because the FBI raided Project Veritas for it and took it. After, of course, they got everything out of it, but took it. And now there's all this legal action against them. Totally her diary. They said that Ashley Biden wrote that she was, quote, hypersexualized at a young age. It details her chronic drug abuse, her affairs outside of her marriage, her finances were down to the wire, and how she was apparently doing drugs on the campaign trail. And there was one part where she said that she was hypersexualized at a young age and that she said that showering with her dad probably wasn't a good idea.
You think?
What?
All right. So, Colleen, what is your response to that clip? That was again about Ashley Biden, who is the daughter of Joe Biden's diary was found. And those were some really salacious comments in the diary by her. What are your response?
I honestly don't know what to make of the diary because I really am 50-50 on whether that thing is real or not. because it could be either have been planted in order to get Project Veritas rated for other purposes, or maybe it really is real and they really did luck out. I mean, I'm really 50-50 on that whole scenario. I don't agree with the way that the FBI reacted to Project Veritas having that material because, I mean, they're allowed to have that. There's no laws against it. It wasn't necessarily stolen property. So I have very mixed feelings on that situation. But with Biden's track record and Hunter's track record, that's why I say I'm 50-50 on it. It really could be true or not. So I am so conflicted on the Ashley Biden diary.
All right. All right. So that is our pop-off round. Join the conversation by leaving a comment on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter. We will check the comments periodically throughout the show. Do you have a question that you'd like to hear answered by one of the co-hosts? Email me, KJ, at metroconservativemedia.com. We will ask the co-host your question during our next pop-off. All right. So we are going to keep it going here to our next topic of the night, which is MAGA Republicans. So I wanted you guys to take a look at this clip. This is clip number 6, and then we'll get into it.
We have an expression in Brooklyn when someone's trying to play a shell game. It's "you ain't slick." What is happening right now is that extreme MAGA Republicans, as Catherine has so eloquently laid out, are trying to play a shell game with the American people. Our position is very clear. We support Roe v. Wade. We support the Women's Health Protection Act. Read the bill, Republicans, if you're unclear on our position. We all voted for it. That's our position. But their position is a nationwide ban. Their position is to criminalize abortion care. Their position is government-mandated pregnancies. But they ain't slick. We are going to lay out their position and the contrast. Women's Health Protection Act. For all the reasons that Assistant Speaker Catherine Clark laid out. And they're running scared. Running scared because of Kansas. Running scared because of New York. Running scared because of Alaska, where Sarah Palin went down to bitter defeat. They're running scared. They're not measuring the drapes anymore because the positions of extreme MAGA Republicans on the economy, on democracy, on reproductive freedom, on Social Security, on Medicare, on a whole host of issues has been exposed, and the American people do not like what they see.
Wow. So I want to give some background really quickly before we dig into this. As everyone probably knows by now, on the 1st of this month, Joe Biden stood in front of an Independence Hall, lit up blood red, and gave a speech. Prior to this speech, White House Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre said, when you are not with where a majority of Americans are, then you know that is extreme. So that is an extreme way of thinking, is what she said. The press secretary was also careful to specify that the majority agreed with Biden. So again, we have now this congressperson from, I believe he was from New York, with, talking about how basically people who just disagree with the Democratic platform with Joe Biden are they're calling us extreme. So the inference seems to be that anyone who doesn't agree with Biden, who faithfully represents the majority, as he says, must be an extremist dedicated to an extreme way of thinking. Again, he began his speech by describing a rising danger in our nation. This is what he said. He warned Americans that our country was under assault by a looming threat. That's me. That's Yana, Colleen, anyone who disagrees. Anyone who disagrees with gender ideology. If you disagree with the COVID lockdowns or the COVID policies, if you disagree with restorative criminal justice, if you disagree with being easy on crime, prosecutors, I mean, the list go on. They are saying we are threats. I want to start with you, Shelley, and get your response to this. Who are the MAGA Republicans in your mind, your opinion?
Well, I know one MAGA Republican pretty well. Right here. Right here. I'm a MAGA Republican. I'm a Republican. Proudly, I voted for Trump twice, and I would vote for him again if he were to run. Whomever. Having said that, let me tell you what a MAGA Republican is. Most MAGA Republicans, if not all of us, we want less government. We want to keep our own damn money in our own pockets, okay? That's what we want. We want our borders secured, okay? We want crime off the street and prosecuted, criminals where they are. We want our children to have the rightful education that our tax dollars have to pay for and not be indoctrinated to go and get an abortion every week. And by the way, what the hell is a government mandated pregnancy? I mean, I know they want the government to be your father from cradle to grave, but what the hell is a government mandated pregnancy? Right. Please, I would love an answer to that. But I am a MAGA Republican, proudly so.
I want to go to you, Yana, and get your thoughts on this. They're making us enemies of the state. Anyone who disagrees, according to Joe Biden, according to Karine Jean-Pierre, according to the Democrats, if you disagree, you are an extremist and you are a MAGA Republican and you are a threat to the country. What are your thoughts on this way of thinking and this platform that they're pushing out here over and over again?
I mean, first of all, it's scary because they are demonizing like half of the country, if not more. So it is scary because that's what happens in countries where there's going to be war at some point. That's how it begins. With any conflict, when you first start marginalizing, you create names for the other. You say that those people are basically demonic and or a threat to everybody. So, and I mean, that's what's happening in this country, and it's coming from the politicians who's supposed to be serving all of the people. They have to be finding ways to unify people, because we do have differences and there's definitely tension between people, but the politicians should be the ones who are trying to bridge gaps if they don't want conflict. But it seems like they want conflict. By doing that, you're creating more and more conflict. And how Shelley was saying that about government mandated pregnancies, they went crazy over this. Like, this is something that once the abortion thing happened, where now states can decide for themselves, they completely lost it. On the Democrat side, they're saying Republicans are running scared. No, the Democrats are scared. That man sounded scared. So any person who's afraid is starting to demonize, is starting to call others names. So he is the one who sounds scared. They're the ones who are afraid, because finally the conservative people are speaking out and we're actually having results.
All right. I want to get your response to this, T. As I mentioned earlier, this rhetoric that the Democrats and Biden administration is pushing about MAGA Republicans being a threat to the democracy, to society, practically enemies of the state. How does that talk make you feel? And should people that are not even registered Republican be worried by this type of talk?
Absolutely. I think that they really are forgetting what MAGA stands for. It stands for Make America Great Again. And America was great at one point when we didn't have the democracy. When we were under a republic, when it was for the people, by the people, it was really a better country then. But now that they're taking over and creating, as Yana's favorite word, Marxism and socialism, it's not great. And this is where I've been a Republican for over 15 years. And I'm actually excited to see that there is some type of radicalism in the party because, I mean, the grand old party, we were grand old. And, we still have some points that I wish we would come back to when it comes to LGBTQ, LMNOP community. But otherwise, I mean, I'm glad to see that there's radicalism in the party.
All right. I want to get your thoughts on this, Colleen. And again, I know I've said this a couple of times, but as someone who recently changed parties, now you hear President Biden spitting out this harsh, divisive language about Republicans, MAGA Republicans, as he says, enemies of the state, threats to democracy. How does that make you feel? And should people like you, walkaways, be worried by this type of rhetoric that we're hearing?
I think that they ramp up this rhetoric so that people don't walk away, because walk away has grown so much in the last few years, especially with the pandemic. And you could really tell when they shut down the Facebook page, because it was really building a lot of momentum and building a lot of stories and testimonies on there. And a lot of them were sounding very similar. So they are really ramping this up because they want to discourage people from coming over to the other side. They really want to say whatever they can to deter you from looking into the Republican platform, considering why did people vote for Trump, even just questioning it. Like, they really just want to ramp up the rhetoric so that people just stay away.
Mm-hmm. And these are the same people, when he talks about something being mandated, they're the ones that mandated masks, vaccines, closure of businesses. They had travel bans. We had to abide by these mandates for the greater good. Yeah. They were forcing us to do this for at least 2 years. And now they're freaking out because the Republicans are standing for life, that we actually want to protect all life, and we want to protect the Constitution and economic opportunities, that we're for equality and not equity, where people are chosen based on their skin color. That's what they're doing. So who is really progressive?
Yeah, and they have to, the thing that they're missing is people aren't walking away because of MAGA Republicans. They're walking away because they don't like Biden. They don't like the things that he's doing. They don't like his administration. So they're blaming the wrong people, which, I mean, we're always to blame, but they haven't realized that people are walking away because of them.
Yeah, I think they do realize it. I'm sorry. I think they do realize it. And I think this idea of government mandated pregnancy, maybe that's the result of us being constantly screwed without the protections of our Constitution. So we're constantly screwed by the government. We're constantly screwed by our legislators who actually go against our Constitution. So now we have these government mandated pregnancies. Okay, well then guess what? That's on you, because you don't follow our Constitution. And again, on Republicans, if we don't start pushing back, we're going to lose it all.
Absolutely. People, not just Republicans, this goes beyond political parties. Everyone needs to be scared. If you are religious, if you are a person of faith, if you disagree with anything that the party in power is saying is right, is saying is the correct way, they are saying you are a threat to democracy. Do people realize this? They're not talking about the small amount of people that believe the election was stolen. And we can say there are a small amount of people that do believe the election was stolen. I don't want to get into that. I don't want to go into all that. If you believe it, that's fine. But they're not talking about those people. We see this every day as they continue to push this rhetoric. We saw the congressman from New York. He went down a whole list of issues that many people across the country agree with. And he said, if you agree with that, you're an extremist. If you think that your child, if you have a white son, which the Democrat Party is pushing, if you have a white child, they are saying that your child is an oppressor. And if you don't agree with this divisive type of education, if you don't agree with them telling your kids that they need to be divided by race, that black kids are oppressed, white kids are the oppressors. If you don't agree with that, you are a threat to democracy. This is serious. It's not a political, this is not cut down by Democrats and Republicans. This is free thinkers and sheep. This is how we are divided. Are you a sheep or are you a free thinker? And if you are a free thinker, no matter you're Republican or Democrat, you need to stand up against this, because we're headed down a very, very evil road, crazy road. And we all need to take this seriously, this rhetoric, and stand up against it. So again, we will continue to follow this story. We are going to continue to update you on this, because this is something we all need to take seriously and push against. I want to go to some of the comments we have here. All right, let's see here. I have Marquita. She says they are the same people who thought it was funny when Trump was kicked off Twitter. They did not consider the fact that they were next to have their rights snatched. Exactly. I mean, we can go on and on about the cancellation and the deplatforming and the censorship on social media. I mean, who are the real fascists here?
Right. But they put all the blame on the Republicans, like, and we're just like, we didn't do that. Y'all did it.
Exactly. Exactly. Denise says, exactly, transcends parties. Right. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So she also says here, it just blows me away, the lack of critical thinking. When someone threatens like that, my instinct is to look into it closer to assess myself. Yeah, exactly. We all need to stand on a united front about this. I mean, when you, as the leader of what is supposed to be the free world, get on a platform and demonize and call people practically enemies of the state just because they disagree with you, and then your party continues down this platform and this type of propaganda. These are very scary times. We all need to unite against this type of talk. We do. We
Biden was the one that said, if you didn't vote for me, you ain't black.
Right.
So the president.
Exactly. So who are the real fascists here? I mean, we talked about this last week, where fascism is really about governmental control. It's about state-minded way of controlling people. This is what this is. I mean, if this isn't it, I don't know what it is. But again, they try to push this type of name calling, and they try to reflect or deflect, I should say, their type of procedure and protocol, right, agenda on everyone else. All right. So again, we asked this in the beginning of the segment, or I think in our social media, are you actually a MAGA Republican? I mean, it's a good question. But I honestly think it transcends that, because the way they're using the MAGA Republican and the way they're demonizing that, saying anybody who disagrees with the government, with the party in power, is an extremist, that should scare us all. It really should. So again, we will continue to follow this. Continue with the comments, guys. We love that you guys are so engaging tonight. We will check them throughout the show. Also, subscribe to our social media so you always know when we post new content. Share this video. Share this to everyone, your liberal friends, your Republican friends. Share it with everybody.
Yeah, we want all
everybody needs to hear it. Yes. Absolutely. Check us out on our website at www.metroconservativemedia.com for up-to-date information. Again, we are a necessary voice in news and entertainment. Also, we do have one more topic, but before I get into that, I would like you guys know we've been pushing this all week. We're now here. We have a event coming up this Saturday. It is our MCM launch party. It is a celebration. It's our official launch for Metro Conservative Media. There will be food, drinks, music, dancing, live performances, and hopefully we have a beautiful rooftop space right in downtown Baltimore. The views are spectacular. We have really gone out of our way to set up an exceptional event for you guys. So please come out. We're actually almost at capacity. You guys have been, we've gotten an overwhelming response to this. So thank you so much to everyone who has already RSVP'd. There will be limited people allowed at the door. So certainly you can still come out, but it's best to RSVP so you can guarantee your spot. It's free to attend, but we are accepting donations. You can go to www.mcmlaunch.eventbrite.com.
Get to meet us.
Yes, we'll be there. There's going to be a lot of people are coming in. We have people coming in from New York, Iowa, DC. So definitely, it's going to be a fun time.
Wait, Hawaii. We have someone coming from Hawaii.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. So yeah. So definitely come on by, have a drink with us, break some bread, and this is going to be like a real party. So definitely it's going to be a good time. All right.
Denise, we wish you can make it, Denise, for Trump.
Oh yeah. Oh, okay. Yes. Well, we certainly will see you next time. Then I missed it. Oh, excited for the launch party. Those able to attend, I'll be with you in spirit. Thank you, Denise. Yes. Thank you so much. All right. What is this? KJ will be taking home the leftover food. Well, I mean, there will be no leftover food, but if there is some, there won't be for any of the guests. So eat while you're there.
I'm taking the leftover bottles.
we have a grand spread. We're having fish. We're having codfish. We're having meatballs, chicken. It's going to be a soul food buffet. We're having it catered. So cornbread. We have desserts. I mean, it's a full spread. So
a lot of meat.
Because
dark meat, white meat.
Yep. Yeah.
It's gonna be packed with meat.
Oh my God!
All right. We're moving right along to the topic. So you can see this woman. She's already said that she's looking for a man, and she's just now she's really putting herself out there. So
I'm gonna allow a man to find me.
Right. Yes. All right. So we're moving on to topic 3, culture wars. All right. So this is kind of an open. This is something to end the night with. I want to kind of open this up to discussion to you all. Has the idea of live and let live added to the moral degradation of society? So when I say live and let live, it's fairly a common phrase that we hear tossed around, but it basically translates to live however you want and don't interfere as others live however they want. So I want to approach this topic actually from the idea of governance, of standards of living in society, and how has this concept, whether this concept has led us to where we are today, where we do see a lot of debauchery, we do see a lot of just moral degradation, as I mentioned earlier. I want to talk about that and see if do you think this idea has led to the moral degradation of society. I want to talk with you, Yana, on this.
Yeah, this is a very interesting topic because I disagree with the idea of live and let live, because we are not separated. The only way that can be possible is if we live in totally separated communities. So for example, if we talk about like the Amish, they can say that because they have their own community and they generally don't interact with others. They're very closed, and so maybe the outside society doesn't really affect them as much. I don't even know if it's true at this point, but the only way it's possible if we don't see each other at all. And so now, how is that possible where we have government schools that teach things to children that parents don't agree on? So they teach Marxism, or they teach or they don't let the parents know that the child is having gender questions. They don't even they affirm that, and they don't tell the parents. How about we have drag story hour at a library that's supposed to be a public place that we all pay for? So how is that possible to say let live? Like, no, that's part of our society. If you don't want it in your society, then you need to stop it. If you're okay with that have it being there and affecting your family and you know generations to come, then you know there's gonna be a product of that.
Mhm. All right. I want to get your response to that, Shelley. That idea of these things that are. Yana mentioned a lot of things there, a lot of different things happening and going on. Do you think that those are the response or the response to live and let live?
Right. First of all, I think like a lot of things, at least at this point in our history or in our lives, a lot of things have been misconstrued and misapplied. So let me start here. Live and let live does not mean or negate no order. It does not mean that there is not a place for civil order, civil thoughts and civil protocols in place to protect and safeguard the civil systems that allow people to pursue life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That does not mean just do what you want, carte blanche. I can't come to you or any of you and just, run roughshod over your property, certainly not take your life, and without expecting there to be some repercussions. That's not live and let live. What people typically historically have meant, particularly in our society, by live and let live is that there are limits placed around, sort of barriers, safeguards, where we can all move freely within those boundaries and still be treated with dignity and respect like the human beings that we are. That is what really live and let live mean. It doesn't mean that I have to come dictate to you or anyone because I don't like the way you look or dress, or maybe even what goes on in your house, which I don't know behind closed doors, number one. But there's a place for everything. That's basically what live and let live means, that you are allowed to pursue your dreams as long as they are within the legal civil bounds of society that don't run over and disregard someone else's rights.
All right. I want to get your response to that, Colleen, because when we say live and let live, and we talk about, we counter that with civil society, as we can see, the ideal, the definition of civil changes. It's changed throughout time, and now we see the idea of moral, the idea of civil, has drastically changed from what tradition we have seen in the United States. So when you say live and let live, does that go out beyond? Does that have a? Does that have a? What's the word? Does that have an effect on outside of your home? We know you can do whatever you want to do inside of your home, but live and let live, how does that translate to people outside of your home, outside of your space? Do you understand what I'm saying there?
Yeah, I mean, it's a difficult discussion because I mean, I kind of am a proponent of live and let live in to a certain extent. I mean, I know not all of us might agree on this topic, but I do support gay marriage. And I mean, there can be a lot of discussions on where that has led us. But there's also something to be said about somebody who wants to who is on their deathbed and wants to ensure that their loved one is going to inherit all the things that they, got together in that relationship. So, I mean, live and let live is a really hard thing to discuss. I mean, especially if you're kind of in between religion and still on the right side of the political aisle. Because I try to live and let live to a certain extent. Like, I don't want to impose any of my religious views on others. Like, if it's a political view, I feel like it's mainly like a political view. Like, for instance, like not transing the kids until they're older, until they're 18 or something like that. Like a political view in terms of like, I'm looking out for somebody's safety. not because I don't think it's right. It's because I'm looking out for your safety. So, yeah, live and let live is a really difficult discussion for me because I don't really like to impose my views that much on others when it comes to what I think is morally right. I would rather impose my views on something because of trying to keep the safety of the majority of society. I suppose, if that makes sense. It's hard for me to discuss live and let live because I don't really like to put my morals on other people.
Okay. And what are your thoughts on this, T, as far as live and let live and imposing your morals on other people? Do you feel like we live and let live has added to the moral degradation of the society? What are your thoughts there?
Oh yeah, it's definitely added to it. The main reason is because it's all one-sided. Everyone will say, "Oh, live and let live," but they don't want to live and let live. For example, I participated in this organization that had wife school classes, and there were women who would be like, "What you mean wife school? You shouldn't be getting money to be a wife." And I'm like, I mean, taking money for school to be a wife, and I'm like, there's medical school, there's law school. Why wouldn't someone want to go to wife school? But they were coming for these people and coming for the organization. And I'm like, it's not live and let live, because it's only when it fits into that narrative. When you're free and liberal, yeah, you should be able to do whatever you want to do, but still understand and respect someone else's decision. And that's where the line is drawn, because no one wants to respect other people's decision. And so then it comes to blows. And live and let live, I'm sorry, but I'm judgmental. And I'm judgmental not only based on what I think my opinion is, I'm judgmental based off what nature provides, because nature to me is or some people would say God or whatever, is the ultimate guide and teacher. So if it's not natural in nature, this could be anything, then I feel like as a human, I have a right to judge.
Yeah, I agree. I think we have a right to express our opinions when we do not like something, when we don't want something for our society. And the thing is, it's like, I feel like we, people who we're pro freedom here in this country, and we generally were for live and let live. And now they're calling us the radical ones, and that we are the ones that somehow imposing on other people's beliefs, where we're the ones who are being called radical, that we shouldn't be expressing our views. We're the ones who are being shut down. Our platforms are being shut down. So, I don't think we're guilty of, I'm sorry?
They're bigots.
Right. And I think, individual freedom, yes, it's very important, but also we have to think about what's best for the country, what's best for the future of this country. So there has to be a balance. And so
we did have a balance in our country. It's called the Constitution, number one. And those are the limits that we have. And even in our Declaration of Independence. And T, something you said, you're right. You said you're judgmental. Guess what? Every human being is judgmental. We like to pretend that we're not, because it makes us sound or look like we're so, I don't know what the word is, so holy. But we all are judgmental, and we should judge outcomes. But that doesn't mean that we can go, again, I'm going to use the word, just run over to someone else and dictate what they should or should not do based on my own preferences. That's not going to happen.
I disagree there, because
that's never happened.
If someone's actions or what they're doing affects me, my family, then yes, I believe I do.
Absolutely. If it affects it, and if something illegal, I'm saying, yeah. But what I'm saying, when people say live and let live, it just means anarchy. And no, that's not what it really means.
Anybody can do whatever they want to do. No society.
That's not what it really means. There are limits. Again, there are limits of protection. And on a macro or big scale, we have our Constitution, and we do have civil, reasonable laws that are in place. Those are, but within that framework, within those boundaries, just like a fence is up, but you have the whole yard with wherein you can move.
I also think that the censorship hasn't allowed us to even so if you're blocking ideas, it doesn't even give people the opportunity to consider something. So if you're blocking the word groomer, if you're blocking libs of TikTok on Twitter, then how are people who are on the fence about transitioning ever going to learn, maybe I shouldn't consider it? Maybe, oh, wow, what's a detransitioner? If you're blocking these things, you can't even like properly live and let live, because all the things that are telling people not to make these big mistakes are being censored. So it's such a weird time, because it's like, in order to really truly live and let live, you need to be able to have all the resources to be able to make a fully informed decision. So if Twitter is like,
it makes sense.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. But let me ask you this, because I thought, this was very timely, because Candace Owens, she came out with a show yesterday, and she went in on the pornography culture and the pornography system. And so one thing that she said, that we know pornography is not outlawed. Anyone can go, online and look at these things. Now she even made a point that a lot of the Instagram, a lot of the stuff that we see is soft porn now. We've gone way beyond the idea of live and let live.
Well, and have you seen the teachers
Right.
discussing that they want to teach, or they're already teaching pornography in high school?
Well, right. But my question to you all is the idea, pornography, these are working people. They're working, they're getting paid to do this. But then you have a lot of effects of this that then do add to the moral degradation of the society. So, this porn industry, it caters to a lot of human trafficking. It caters to violence in intercourse and sex. It promotes this a lot. Not only that, but statutory rape, all kinds of stuff. So then you ask, but these people are making a wage. They're making a living wage. They're doing a job. So this is what I kind of look at as far as live and let live. Is there a
I understand what you're saying, and look, I struggle with some of these concepts, if you will, as well, because if we're going to have a free society, then within that freedom, there's also the things that are risky, if you will. I just use that word broadly. So either we're going to have a free society and acknowledge the risks, or we're not. And I'm just saying, I struggle with we're not. So either we're going to have a totally closed, if you want to call it totalitarian dictatorship, or we're going to have a free society and acknowledge the risk. Because even within that free society where there are risks, there's still the opportunity to counter those risks. So again, these concepts, these ideas are as old as humankind have been on the earth. Then these issues are never going to go away. There has never been a time where there has been zero moral degradation in any society. So I mean,
Shelley, it's one thing to just have that available. Okay, people can go to a Grammy website and look at whatever. But we have pornography promoted in like teen magazines.
You're
we
right.
have pornography is now considered educational material, because it somehow helps people with their mental issues or whatever. And there's teachers discussing how they need to be teaching and discussing different types of pornography, and how kids, young underage children should be able to explore that without any shame. So that's different. That is different than just having that somewhere, because really it's true. Almost in every country in the world, even if it's a totalitarian country, people are able to access that stuff, but it's not being promoted as normal. So when people are looking at that, they're like, oh, I shouldn't be doing this. So it's still an understanding in their minds that they're making a decision to do something that is not morally right, that is against their societal norms. But in America, it's becoming normalized. It becomes as a societal norm.
That's the difference right now. Yes, we have always had moral degradation, but nothing. Now we have gotten to a point where we are changing millennia of ideas, of concepts. It's never been this.
And I hear you. I agree with you. I agree with you there. My point is that it has happened, but it also happened because there was a vacuum. There were not enough, I'm saying, people pushing back or whatever, enough constantly. There were not. The family broke down for whatever reason, myriad of reasons, right? Societal norms and some of the civil norms have broken down. So there was a vacuum that allowed it to grow. When I grew up, the pornography was, I think it was in a brown bag in the stores. It was covered in brown bags or whatever, things like that. So to your point, the soft porn, I literally just saw, I think 3 days ago on Facebook, a woman in dressed in like a I don't know, a thong, showing a class, showing how to give on top the non-missionary position sex with a man laying there in the class. And this was literally, I'm like, oh my gosh, she's telling these women, this is what you do. You pump
Riding class. How to ride it.
What was it called?
A riding class.
Yeah, a riding class. Pump 4 times and then you put your leg over and do this. And I was like, oh my gosh, we would never have seen this, I don't know how long ago.
You know what it is? We have not, we've taken shame out of the community. And because of that, as you, like when children, you give them an inch, they're going to take a mile. So you give them this one crumb of okay, freedom, liberation, freedom, then they'll say, oh no, we got to keep pushing it. And so at some point, we're not going to have rules. At some point, we're going to have, like, everybody really is going to be doing whatever they want to do.
It's Marxism. That's Marxism.
Yeah.
I think Yana shared with us a video yesterday or today talking about how the sexual, what do you call it? Sexual molestation and things like that started in Nazi Germany. It started in Nazi Germany, and then the person who kind of started this whole sexual exploitation and sexual journey was a what was it, Yana? You said no, it wasn't Freud. I think his name was Franey or something.
It was
Kensington or Freud, yeah.
Yes,
that
he eventually moved to America and began to push this idea of sexualizing children.
Kinsey.
Kinsey, yes. And so it was and I mean, Freud kind of started that too. It's this whole thing that, there shouldn't be any shame whatsoever. That, I mean, and in a way, yes, you have to address the issue of maybe someone being overly ashamed of that area of their life. But then at the same time, you can't completely, not have human norms or societal norms when it comes to sexuality. So, again, people.
We have someone here. He said, I dare you to define Marxism without looking it up.
Oh, you picked the wrong. Oh,
okay. Well, Marxism is a philosophy that was created by Karl Marx in Germany in the 1800s. Some of the aspects of it is that people should have control of the means of production. So there shouldn't be so-called bourgeoisie or landowners that everywhere. It's co-ops come from that idea that people have to own everything. Technically, supposedly they can own things, which never really worked out. Another thing when it comes to Marxism is that there shouldn't be any hierarchy. So, for example, monarchy, they're really anti-monarchy because monarchy has a hierarchy.
There should be no social classes.
Yeah, so there shouldn't be social classes whatsoever. There shouldn't be a hierarchy in the family. So that's one of the things that the Marxists are against, is that the man, should be the head of the family. They're absolutely against that because that creates hierarchy. So, these things is the idea that there can be equality between all people, between genders, there isn't any social classes. Another important aspect of Marxism is there shouldn't be religion of any kind. So because religion also created hierarchy. So there's God, and then there's a father, and then women and children.
It was ultimately against God.
Yes, so there shouldn't be a religion. There shouldn't be religious figures that we, listen to. We shouldn't be listening to them. It's all outdated. That was the whole idea. So I don't know. I mean, what else should I be explaining?
That's fine. You did it.
You did it all right there.
He tried you because he didn't think that you would be able to answer the
I
question.
mean, really, you just outlined the Democrat platform.
Yeah.
I mean, equality of the genders. No religion.
Yeah, and I mean,
no
and
family.
if you listen to John Lennon's song "Imagine," that's Marxism.
That's it. That's it in a nutshell.
Listen to that, and that's exactly what Marxism is.
Reimagining.
That's why they use that word. That's why they use that word.
All right. So we are yes. We all that was very good, y'all. Yes, we clapped for y'all. That was very good. So yeah. All right. So we have actually gone over our time. We are at the end of our show. So I wanted to just kind of open it up as far as that topic. I thought that was a great topic to discuss, and it can kind of branch off into other topics. Live and let live. Please continue the conversation in the comments section after the show. We will continue to check the comments and respond. We had, as I mentioned, we're having a celebration on Saturday here in Baltimore. It's our official Metro Conservative Media launch. So please come out and join us for the celebration starting at 7 p.m. on Saturday, right in downtown Baltimore. For more information, you can go to www.mcmlaunch.eventbrite.com. I believe. Let me wait 1 second. It's www.mcmlaunch.eventbrite.com. All right, you can RSVP there and join us for that. Right after this show, we have the guys show. So they, the male perspective, talk about some of the issues that we've talked about during this show and more. So it's very good. Definitely stay and check that out. Again, you can connect with us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. As you watch this, share this on your social media platforms. Send it in a DM to your friends and family. That way, we definitely grow our audience. Also, it helps if you comment throughout the show, it does help our algorithm on YouTube. So as you comment, it does push us up in the YouTube algorithm, and that's really what we want. So again, subscribe. So all right. So again, we appreciate the support. We are an independent media, and each time you subscribe, it makes our voice that much stronger. Check us out on our website, www.metroconservativemedia.com. We look forward to seeing you next week. Until then, count your blessings and live a life of purpose. Good night.
Peace out.